Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Dr. Dilsora Fozilova, and in today's class, we are going to discuss social structures and their role in shaping inequality in society. Because of the Monday holidays, we are falling a little bit behind from our class. Therefore, I decided to pre-record this video for you so you can watch at home and we can continue discussing other topics. So what is social structure and how that influences inequality in society? At its core, sociology is the study of how society is organized and how individuals interact within these structures. Social structures refer to the organized patterns of relationships and institutions that make up society. Things like family, education, the economy, the government. So the family, education, economy, and government are the social institutions. So what makes them social institutions? Because they have a very important role in society and their structures are formed based on their functions. For example, education in Canada, there is elementary school and then middle school and then secondary school. There is a bachelor's degree, master's degree, and PhD in higher education. So this is the structure of education. What's its function? So that serves as a main agent for socialization. People learn skills, people learn, like children learn how to read and write and do math and other subjects. And that prepares them to go to higher education, where they become a professional person. They will become professionals for our society. So you all know what are the roles of professional people or skilled people in society. So therefore, the education's function is very obvious. So the people, how they interact within these organizations or institutions, and the norms, values, and interactions between them makes social structures. But why do these structures matter? Because they have a profound influence on people's lives, opportunities, and life changes. Social structures create frameworks that determine who has access to resources like education, wealth, healthcare, and who doesn't. These structures often lead to inequality between different social groups, whether based on class, race, gender, or other factors. So in today's class, we will examine how social structures contribute to inequality, focusing on the specific areas like in the social institutions, education, workplace, and healthcare. First of all, we try to understand what social structure is. By the end of this lecture, I hope you will have a clearer understanding of what social structure is, how social structures are not neutral. They can both empower and marginalize, depending where the individuals find themselves within the social hierarchy. So as we go through this lecture, think about your own experiences and observations. How do social structures impact your own life or the lives of people around you? Who benefits from the social structures and who faces barriers? Let me share my PowerPoint with you, and then we will continue discussion based on our PowerPoint. So today's lecture is titled Modern Life, Social Structure and Inequality. And first we will start with thinking about what are the building blocks of social structures. So as I mentioned to you that we think about social institutions like family, government, politics, education, law, as some of the main elements of social structures. They are established patterns of behavior and relationships. For example, if you think about your family, the norms and values in the families are established for a long time. And then all these families have certain kind of structure. For example, we can think of nuclear families where mom, dad, and children live. There are traditional or extended families. There are mom, dad, their children, and their parents, maybe, or some of the family members. There are single parent families. Mom or dad lives with children. So there are structures of family, and family has a very important function in society. So according to structural functionalism, all these social institutions have functions in society because their structures built around their functions, they keep stability in society. You don't have to do anything. They will just self-regulate and provide balance and stability in society. There are social groups, collection of individuals who interact, share common goals and interests. For example, the group of students taking sociology, they have common goal of interest in sociology, or they want to get the credit and move on with their degree. So that just brings them together to take this sociology course. Social roles, everybody in society have different kinds of roles based on the context. For example, I am mom in my home, and I'm a university instructor at the university, and then I can be a player in one of my, for example, tennis groups, or I can be friend to some of my friends. So these people have their roles, and the resources in society are distributed based on the roles and stats of people in society. Social norms, that all social institutions have their internal social norms. For example, for the families, they have their own norms. Where is whose room and what time people get up, who makes the breakfast, and then if the Sunday, if they go to church, or if they're Muslims, they're going to Friday prayer, or there is like who does the groceries. That is the norms established in family. So the values, on the other hand, can be their belief systems or certain traditions they do. So those are the social norms, and that social norms keeps creates this known space that people know what to expect based on the norms created in these social institutions, and they also interact based on these norms and the values they have. Social statuses, the position or rank that an individual holds in society. It can be politician, or it can be let's say lawyer in the courthouse. They are the social statuses. Social networks, patterns of relationships and connections that we have in society, that's actually our social capital. Like the networks we have, people we know, we have families, we have friends, we have neighbors, we have people we work with. They are our social networks. Culture is very deep. It has very deep meaning in sociology. It's not only shared beliefs and values and customs. Basically, anything we create is actually part of our culture. We take stuff, for example, iron or wood from nature. We will make stuff from them, and that will become our culture. So anything we change with or give meaning to, that is actually part of our culture, and including our social norms, values, customs, traditions, symbols, and practices. And social hierarchies, the ranking or stratification of individuals and groups. We have all different kinds of social hierarchies, and that hierarchies can be based on many things, that positions you held in certain organization. It can be, for example, the group hierarchy or religious hierarchy. There can be many different kinds of hierarchies in society, also based on race, gender, sex. This ones also create certain forms, class of hierarchy in society. These all are very important parts of social structure. So what is social structure then? Probably the easiest or the briefest definition of social structure would be: social structure refers to the organized patterns of relationships and institutions that make up society. So now we are saying that organized patterns of relationships and institutions. So there are institutions, there are people, they are interacting with one another. All these webs of interactions make social structure. It influences how individuals interact with each other and how power, resources, and opportunities are distributed. So who's getting more in this society, who's getting less in this society is based on the structures. So we will look into this deeper during our conversation. So let's start with social institutions. All this, well, like a button kind of things, they are social institutions like family, marriage, polity, economy, religion, education, media. All of them, law, are social institutions. What are some of the common things about them? All of them has their own structure, and they have very important functions in society. Another common about them, all of them has their own norms, and the people, actually these ones are like not buildings, not some sort of physical structure. They are the patterns of individuals in society. For example, marriage is two people getting married and that declaring beside the government that getting, first of all, their marriage certificate. Secondly, they can do the same thing in front of their religion, that they get religious ceremonies. And then also they moving together or living together, they have a different sort of relationship. This is not only about those papers you get from religious organization or the government. This is the very unique sort of relationship two people have in society that makes them marry, institution of marriage. So all these institutions work together in society, interact with one another to make the social structure. They are building blocks of social structure. Now we can think of that this social institutions when, for example, if you're starting from family, there is child is born and then there is a socialization takes place. The parents teach the child how to hold a spoon, how to walk, how to talk, how to change, how to wash up, and all of those things as primary agent of socialization taught at home. Another role of family is supporting family members emotionally, financially, all of the support coming from the family. Another role of family is reproduction, or the next generation of children are born in families. So, and then these children starts to go to school to learn their ABCs, math, and other things. And then when they finish, they go to university. And then when they finish with education, they can move towards economy here. So they start to make money. While they make money, they pay for the government, they pay taxes for the government, they support their families, Their rights are protected by law, for example, and there's all kinds of the social institutions affect these people, and they are continually interacting with the social institutions throughout their lives. So that is social institutions. And this one, I tried to create something so you can understand this. All different kinds of social institutions work together like a gear to keep balance in society. Because they have a certain structure and function, they are the unique institution, the functioning that has unique functions in society. For example, family has a different function than education, although they have some overlapping parts. That families also teach their children very important stuff, and then education continues that internalization, externalization process. Internalization is everything we see here with our senses, everything we learn from others. That is the process of learning, is internalization. And then when we teach other people, or if we go out and negotiate who we are, when we present ourselves in society in a certain way, so we are externalizing who we are and externalizing our norms and values, everything we know. So other people are internalizing. So this is the process of internalization and externalization in society. So all the social institutions, like a gear, work together in society. And Durkheim rightly thinks that, you know, the social institutions look like the organs in our body that work together to keep this balance of healthy living thing. And then if one of them is ill, for example, if there's a crisis, economic crisis, all other institutions also will be affected by them. So all of them has their norms and values, and there are people have roles and statuses within these institutions. So people interact with one another based on their roles, based on their statuses, and also based on the norms and values created in society. It is like a very machine-like explanation of society. So Emily Durkheim was one of the people who, for the first contributors of structural functionalism, and he contributed immensely towards social structures. According to Durkheim, social structure refers to the organized patterns of relationships, institutions, and norms that shape and regulate individual behavior in society. He emphasized these structures exist independently of individuals and exert a powerful influence on their actions. And we will talk about how structures affect us in a bit. Actually, in my social structure class, usually I have a very interesting activity that called mapping social structures, and the students will get some scenarios, or based on that scenarios, they map how structures affect individuals in society. I wish I could do that with you. So how does social structure affect individuals? So we will go through three different things today, and that is Durkheim's anomie, and Karl Marx's alienation, and also Weber's rationalization, to understand how structures may affect our lives. Durkheim says that anomie is a state of normlessness or breakdown in social order and cohesion. So according to Durkheim, when the changes are rapid in society, like industrialization or social revolutions, the changes happen very rapidly. People people don't understand what's going on and where this life taking them. And the industrialization, especially, was such a rapid process. People were, for the first time in their lives, they were left without jobs in the villages, and now they were moving to the cities and getting jobs in manufacturing companies. Manufacturing companies were actually new to society, where many different people are producing one thing, which was totally different than in traditional societies. In traditional societies, people produce, for example, their own product from the beginning to the end. If there's a shoemaker's family, they will get the leather themselves, get the rubber, everything they need, and they sew and make that shoe, and that is their product. They can say, this is the product I created. And in that process, they can get creative, give some design, learn from their own experiences and better their work. And there is an element of creativity in doing that. And when the Industrial Revolution started, people were separated from that, and the changes were too rapid. So when the changes are too rapid, people get into sort of depression, and according to Durkheim, and there is the suicide rates can go up. So basically, when people feel there's too much changes happening, changes are too rapid, and they feel some sort of normlessness, or the social order created in societies somehow eroded, that's when people get into sort of depression. So they may commit suicide. So that's what anomy is about. Anomy is about that state of normlessness or a breakdown in social order and cohesion. So Durkheim's main focus was actually the collective dimension of society, highlighting how the breakdown of shared norms could have detrimental effects on individuals. Now, and we think about Marx's alienation as I start to talk about this shoemaker's family who has this shoe at the end, and they are very proud of how they make their shoe. And then they also have this element of creativity, and also they do this product, produce their product with their families. So they are attached to their families, they're spending more time, maybe having lunch or dinner together. And when they start to work in the manufacturing companies, they are basically separated from the outcomes of their work, their product. And there are many people, thousands of, maybe hundreds of people working on one thing and producing one car, for example. Somebody is all day can sit there and kind of like do one thing, putting one mirror or putting one steering wheel, just one after another all day. It's boring. It is long. It's nobody can talk to another person. Yes, this kind of it's the industrialization created effective or productive way of producing products. However, it took away from people that their connection to their families, their connection to the product or outcome of their work, their product. And that separated people from their creativity. All of those together, according to Marx, that was kind of alienating people, alienating workers from all these good things. Marx situated alienation within the capitalist mode of production as commodities are controlled by capitalists. That the products they're making, that's not theirs. They're only selling their labor. And when they are selling their labor, they are actually not free. They are their work is sold to the capitalist. Then they will go and work. They are not free. They are kind of like some sort of, in some way we can think of slavery, because you are selling your time. If they are there for 10 hours or 12 hours or 14 hours, that's how it was in the beginning. And the people are there working all this time. And then when they get home, they basically very tired. They will, kind of like sleep and rejuvenate themselves. And next morning they come back to work. Basically, they're not free. So for Marx, this was problematic. Marx emphasis was on the economic and class-related dimensions, highlighting how the structure of capitalism inherently leads to the dehumanization and alienation of working class. Like, if you need to work 14 hours to just afford your food and shelter, that means like you're not free. You are basically dehumanized by the capitalist and just working to get by in this life. So that's the meaning of alienation. So you're separated, you are alienated from your product, from your creativity, from your family. There's so many different things. The main thing Marx focuses is the creativity and the outcome of your work or your product. Weber's rationalization, it's kind of like all these three things very interconnected with one another. And the modern societies, Weber argues that people work to increase productivity in capitalist society, and all the work they do to increase efficiency, everything is calculated and rationalized in the workplace. For example, the person comes to work 8 o'clock in the morning, and they need to work until 12 o'clock, and then they have to take, for example, half an hour or 1 hour lunch break. That is actually calculated by science, that shows that at this time, if people don't have their lunch, their productivity decreases. Therefore, they have lunchtime, not because the capitalists want them to have rest or capitalism loves them, just because they don't want the productivity of the worker go down. So everything is calculated and rationalized by this modern workplaces. He associated rationalization with the rise of bureaucracy, capitalism, and the modernization of society. It involves the application of rational and efficient means to achieve specific ends. So he also, I don't have it on my PowerPoint, but he also talks about iron cage. Iron cage means like people are enslaved by this rationalization. Everything about their body, and when they get tired, what their body needs to keep the productivity is scientifically checked and calculated, and that applied to people to keep the productivity high. It's just kind of like treating you like a machine. That machine gets very hot. If you don't stop the machine and give a little bit rest, that engine can break down. So you don't want engine to break down. So you will stop the machine for half an hour to let it cool down, and then you can start working again. It's just that kind of calculation and rationalization applied to capitalist societies. So we have another video on Talcott Parsons. I would recommend you to watch that video. I will include the video link in your e-learn about the social systems. However, Talcott Parsons continued Durkheim's work, and in many ways explained the social systems in more complex way. For him, that the patterns of social systems play very important role in society. And he talks about how people interact with one another, and then what are the functional relationships. And also he talks about a system, natural solar systems, organized systems. And this one, Parsons' work reminds us how social groups interact in society, how they are organized. For example, people at the airport, or social systems that people may not know one another very well, but they are there for a few hours. They can be from different countries. They may not speak their language. They may not know one another, but they are in that space for a certain time. And the other one is a workplace. These people know one another through their work. They have shared interests. Maybe these are the group of, let's say, programmer for the computer, or some sort of, let's say, real estate people. They're gathering together. They have common interests. They have so much to talk about. They have shared identity. So they interact very differently than people at the airport. And also we can think of, in these days, the social media being another social group that people may know what they are doing in life, like they're shared posts and pictures and everything, but they may never meet one another. So this is a different kinds of social systems. So for the Talcott Parsons, social systems are organized sets of relationships and structures within society that shape how individuals and groups interact. Based on what kind of social systems we're talking about, people will interact differently. They consist of institutions, norms, roles, and social hierarchies that influence behavior, opportunities, and the distribution of resources. So this is social system. And then when we talk about social structure, we have to understand that social structures we study in sociology in three levels: in a macro level, like social structures, institutions, or meso level, that is between macro and micro. Meso level is maybe smaller groups, like religious groups or schools. So the mesosystems are therefore smaller groups. Microsystem is in the individual level, maybe that family, the closest people, peers, and other people. That is in an individual level, we analyze in the individual level. This is three different layers, levels of analysis in sociology. The social systems are individuals, groups, and institutions, norms, values, and roles and statuses. They have a very important role in society: the integration, adaptation, goal alignment, and pattern maintenance. That's also Talcott Parsons' video explains this much better way. So defining inequality. So we said we will be talking about structure and inequality in society. So what is inequality? Inequality refers to the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, and privileges among individuals or groups within a society. It can manifest in various forms, including economic disparities, unequal access to education, healthcare, and employment opportunities, as well as differential treatment based on factors like race, gender, or social class. So inequality often results in social stratification, where individuals or groups are hierarchically arranged based on the perceived values and social standing. So inequality means that we are not equal. Society never ever can be equal because people are not equal. However, we are not talking about that. When we are talking inequality, we are talking about how structures affect people to become more unequal in society. For example, based on race, based on gender, based on sex, based on social class, that social structures can also widen the gap between rich people or poor people. So there are different types of inequality: political inequality, racial, ethnic inequality, inequality of opportunities, that I can go to university maybe, but somebody else cannot go there because of not having enough money or not having enough time, busy to, looking after family maybe. Healthcare opportunities can be different. For example, if I need urgent healthcare because of my membership in Canadian society, I can go and get treated in a hospital. But in some places, like other countries, for example, if they don't have the health insurance and they may not have the money to go and get treated, therefore, the opportunities to get healthcare and being treated is not there. So that is what differences in opportunities in society means. So we also talked about gender inequality and economic inequality. In our class, we are not going to explore these inequalities in a deep sense. All we want to know is understanding what kind of inequalities we are talking about and how social structures may affect that inequalities. So in society, this one is from, you can see the Pyramid of Capital System, one of the very famous writings. So most of the people who do the work is in the bottom over here. They work very hard, and who are getting the big part of their money, which in Marxism, they say surplus value. So if they are spending $10 for raw materials and $10 on labor, they are making another $20 on top of it. So the workers get, all the workers, 200 workers or 300 workers, may get $10, just coming up with numbers. And the bourgeois, according to Marx, gets $20, like twice as much than all people work to make certain product. So therefore, they will become very rich. But the people in the bottom, they have to sell their labor and keep doing that because they will not get ahead. They will not make wealth. They will be just affording their lives. And then on the top, there's authorities, and then maybe there is the religion comes, and politics or government comes, that the small number of elite rules all this country, right? So this is social stratification. That's how society is organized, unfortunately, and then inequality between the bottom and the top is very, very wide. And also this stratification can be based on class, race, gender, caste. These are some of the elements of social stratification. For example, when it comes to gender, gender roles and the element is developed historically, and in today's society, we achieved a lot. For example, before, women couldn't go to universities, women couldn't participate in paid labor, they couldn't have any inheritance, or they could not even claim their children in cases of divorce, and also they couldn't even get divorced if they wanted. That would be the men's decision to make. So there was a huge inequality between two genders. And in today's world, we have more rights than historically it has been. However, gender inequality still exists in many parts of layers of society, and that's another conversation for another lecture. So power and authority, who holds power in society and how it is maintained. So when we are talking about race, class, gender, they are the determinants of who holds the most power. For example, when we think about two sexes, men and women, men are historically more powerful than women. If we think about class, the rich class is more powerful than poor class. If we think about race, that white race has been more powerful than dark race, right? So there is power relations in society. How institutions reinforce social structures. So in the legal system, until recently, there was a very racist laws and regulations. Actually, when the colonialism started, that the regulations and laws made that bourgeois or people, colonizers, capable of doing certain things. It enabled them do violence, use violence in societies, enslave African Americans, for example, or take advantage of the land of other people. The laws and regulations enabled them to do that. So that is a social structure. So, and then race was used as a tool to justify why white people can make Black people to work, and they did not pay for them, they were enslaved, their raw materials of the countries was taken away, that everything they wanted they could do because they justified race. So in today's society, we can think of that workplace gender disparities and institutional barriers to leadership roles. When we think about the politics, in many countries, that most of the leaders are men, or any the jobs that leadership roles in the banks, for example, in other institutions, all the leadership roles are taken by men. So we can see that gender disparities or inequalities in society, in some places more than other places. So social mobility means people in that hierarchy, the hierarchy we saw over here, social mobility means people can move from the bottom to the next layer, or to the next layer, or to the next layer, or next layer. Or the people from up there can come down. If people from the bottom can make up there, that's upward mobility. If they somehow fall from that elite and become worker, that's downward mobility. So this mobility then is a very important thing. In some of the democratic countries where the fairness is or justice is served, people can have a better social mobility. For example, the child from the poor family can get education, and through that education, they can make their way up in politics or law, or in the political elite, or the group of elite serve or rule the government. They can make their own way there, and that would be social mobility. So education is one of the things that enables social mobility in most factors, or also occupation, economic status, like a business, owning a business can allow people to move or have a better social mobility. That is about social mobility, social structure, and social change, how social structures adapt or resist change. So social structures usually that because we're talking about norms and values, sometimes resist social change. But there is some other elements in society, like conflicts, that will encourage social change. People negotiate their position, people negotiate and renegotiate who they are and what they want to do in everyday life, which brings change in society. The role of social movements, for example, technological advancements and shifts in political power in changing social structures is possible because of that, elements. For example, I have here the civil rights movement that changed the laws and norms regarding race and played a vital role in the social change at the time. In sociology, we don't have one social theory that explains everything, like Big Bang Theory. We don't have it because society is very complex and we would like to see them from different points of view. For example, structural functionalism tells us that there are social institutions, each of them has their own structure and function. Because of that, they can serve as balance. They can balance society. They can maintain its it can maintain some sort of balance in society. So that is one way of looking at social structures. So the next one is conflict theory. Conflict theory says that society is a fabric of conflicts. It's a battleground of competing interests, often highlighting inequalities in power and resources. So whoever is stronger, whoever is more educated, whoever is wealthiest, they have better chance of winning in certain competitions in society. And conflict theory says that the society is nothing but conflicts. It's conflicts in a sense that not always bad or not always negative. Conflict can create positive environment. For example, two companies is competing over one product and both of them makes this product, let's say Samsung and iPhone, or Apple. So they make their own phones and they try to make sure that the audio system, video system, that is all of the elements they have is the best. So they're competing in the market. Based on their competition, they will try to give the best price possible. Therefore, there is always there is intentions to make the best product. As a result, that there's a change in society. So that's what we're talking about when we say like it explains society. Symbolic interactionalism, this is one of the micro level theories that explain in the individual level. It argues that the society is society based on symbols, and we communicate through symbols. Our language is a symbol. We developed them in the historical evolution, and every time when we met something, we named them. So we know that name belongs to that item. Now people can communicate when they use that word. So we created our language. That social world is constructed. So everything around us is a symbol. So without knowing that symbols, we will not have a society. Maybe we will have the population of animals, for example, but that wouldn't be a society. That's what the explanation of symbolic interactionism. There are hundreds and hundreds of different kind of theories in sociology. However, this three is classic, introduced by classical sociologists, and they are the grand theories in sociology. So in summary, social structures or the institutions, social institutions which have their own norms. All the social institutions interact with one another based on that norms and values. And these social institutions are not some sort of building or structure. They are people that they have certain patterns and they are organized. So the social institutions, the main building block of social structure. The people in this within this social structure interact all the time, and the social structures affect people's lives, and that can also increase or decrease inequality in society. And we talked about social change, how social change happens. We talked about main theories, main elements of social structure. I hope you got some understanding of social structures. And please also watch that video on social systems. That's kind of continuation of um, this video pre-recorded lecture. I will see you in our next classes. Bye-bye.